Welcome back to this episode of Delayed Offside. This is a very special episode of Delayed Offside. As you can see, as almost always, we are down 1 to 2 members. This week was a little bit of a confluence of events. I think everyone was good to go Sunday, except for Sanjay. I don't think Sanjay was good to go on Sunday, but I can't remember.
Is he ever?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But essentially what happened was I hurt my back and hip, so I was out. And then after that, Ryan's kid got sick. And then Sanjay had a hockey game, which he had known about for a while, since he won his draft or whatever. He drafted a bunch of games. And then today, Ryan's kid's still not feeling well. And then all of a sudden, Sanjay's kid's not feeling well. So, it's just like one of those things. Yeah, we just, we just have to play with it on the fly. If it was tomorrow we were recording, Sanjay would have been like, I don't know, I swallowed a beetle, or a lady, or a lady said something mean to me at work, and he'd be out anyway. So we just have to accept that that's where we're at. We're going to move on to some things here now. Because this is an old school style episode with just Adam and I, there's a couple important things that we need to get out. This is probably going to be one of the least biased episodes you will ever see. Both as Oilers fans, we have that je ne sais quoi, where we can talk about other teams in a way that is truthful, honest, authentic, and not have any of that biases of analytics and numbers that Ryan Pilon tries to shove down your throat every episode. So that's out of the window here. But I want to start with that. The game finished today. The Oilers are now at a record of 4-3. A game that by accounts, like they actually looked much better, but at times they did not look good at all. But still, like one of their better games that I've seen them play. And now that's 2 wins in a row. But I want to comment on the play of one man, which is Zach Hyman. And honestly, the man is a workhorse. I watch this guy play. He's hard in every battle. My biggest complaint about the Oilers in general is that they're not hard on sticks. Like they'll lose a puck battle, they'll get outworked, but not Zach Hyman. You'll see him go into a battle with 2 different guys and he still emerges with the puck and gets a shot. He's still always in there. He's tenacious. And it's just interesting because Ryan's not here to bash him for bunting, which is his normal response. Like, well, bunting's so great, but it's weird.
Underlying numbers.
Yeah, but it's weird today because bunting has been removed off the top line. Alex Kerfoot's up there with Matthews and Mitch Marner, and bunting's been moved. And I wonder if that has changed Ryan Pilon's views on one Zach Hyman. Now, he always say he loves Zach, but does he really? What are your thoughts there? Like, what are your thoughts on Hyman, and what are your thoughts on Ryan Pilon pretending to be happy with bunting?
First, there we go. That's a beautiful sponsorship. Hopefully,
please sponsor us, Tim's. Even the local Tim's. I'll take the Tim's that has just truck stop Tim's if they give us a card to give away.
Here's the deal with Hyman. This is what I like about Hyman. He is not afraid to get and go to the dirty areas and dig out that puck and take on 1, 2. We saw 3 today behind the net.
Yes.
Not with it. He is insane. A massive workhorse. He'll usually, when he comes out of that corner, he's usually got a couple guys attached to him, chasing him, and he'll come out and make a play or create a shot for himself, right? Because he tends to just drag guys with him.
Right.
Another thing I really love about Hyman is he is one of the greatest assets a team can have on the penalty kill. He is unbelievable at getting that puck out and creating an odd man chance shorthanded. He's unbelievable. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now I've lost you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you now.
There we go. Sorry, I had hit the mute button. I was trying to get a sound clip loaded for something later just to make sure I had it. And I didn't get it loaded, but whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I honestly, I've heard this from other people before too, which is I can't believe the Leafs let him walk, that he wouldn't pay him that extra money for him. And I understand that there's certain guys that they're attached to, but if he's part of your core, I think there's just a lot that he does as a workhorse, but also as an attitude and a style. And I know that sometimes his underlying numbers aren't always great. Like I think people thought there's always this false thought that whoever comes in is going to sit on McDavid's line and just cash automatic.
Yeah.
We saw it with Strome when he was here.
Yep.
Like I think one of these the sports projection books had him going for like 100 points being on the line with McDavid.
Yep.
And by the end of that season, he was traded to New York for Ryan Spooner. So it doesn't all go that way, but
Yeah.
people assume that it's going to go that way. And Hyman might not always produce, but whatever line he's on, it feels like it's better because it feels like he's working and he's getting stuff and you can see it happen. And I think if there's a guy that kind of sits well in most communities, whether it be the eye test, the analytics, it has to kind of be him. So
yeah. And you know, he is like, if you take a look and compare him to like a movie cast, right? Or like, you know, your SNL type cast, you get your he's an every guy. He's like Will Ferrell was with SNL, right?
Yeah.
Although Will Ferrell was an all-star at that point in his career, but he was playing everything. He was an everyman.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how I feel. Yeah. And that's how I feel Hyman is. He can penalty kill. He's on the power play. He can play well 5-on-5. He can take on 1. He can take on 3. He's a good team guy.
Now, the Oilers haven't had necessarily the best start to the season this year. They started out and they were kind of, I guess, mediocre for a lot of games.
Yeah.
Essentially, they came out 3-3 in their homestand. They lost games to St. Louis 2-0. Kind of the upside of that entire homestand is that the last game against the Penguins ended on such a good note. It looked for a while there, looked like dangerously like McDavid might be hurt, but at the end of it, what essentially occurred is the team really just kind of became gangbusters, went out there, played hard every shift and really outshot the Pittsburgh Penguins, who've also been very dominant early on.
Yeah.
But it until then, that road trip or that homestand kind of felt terrible. And now you're kind of seeing at least a little bit of building on that where they might go forward. But I think that inconsistency has been very problematic. And now some people are pointing at Campbell and they're saying like, oh, he hasn't been very good. And historically, he isn't great in October. Yeah. But if it's not Campbell, what other things do you kind of attribute the mediocre record to up till this point?
Well, what I've noticed in those first 5 games was a lack of chemistry between up and down the lineup. The only guys that I said this in my weigh in tonight, the only guy that's played consistently well in all 6 games has been Ryan McLeod. He has been fire, energy, and you know, McDavid's McDavid, but look at the passes. They were always into skates, always a little bit ahead of the stick, always a little behind. There was no chemistry that was being generated at all. So that mix up of lines when they played Pittsburgh was like their immediate aha moment. Right when they did that, the spark plug was Connor potentially being hurt in that power play goal. Right. But once they mixed up those lines, holy smokes, Baron, it was like someone got an idea and they just started writing, right? Like as a writer, like insane.
I muted it for the burp, but here we are. No, like you make a good point. And I think it's funny. McLeod today had probably one of the worst highlight reel pieces, which was that turnover where he wiped out and basically the puck just coughs up right in front of Skinner. And I was just like, wow, that's not what you want. But I mean, actually at the end of the day, like they got through it, but he has been good. Draisaitl to me has looked a little sloppy, sometimes with his passes, sometimes with his effort. The thing is that he can do something amazing, but I do feel a lot of times the Oilers cheat. And I don't mean like guys high cheat. I mean, like I'm going to reach for that as opposed to put the puck under my nose. Right.
Yeah.
And so things like that kind of occur and it makes it frustrating to watch. But when you see the cylinders firing, you really kind of recognize that potential. Now they're in a division that's quite tough because right now Calgary Flames are doing unbelievably well. And I would say the charging lead there has to be Kadri, who has been outstanding since being signed. And I really wasn't sure how Kadri would work out. Not that I didn't think Sutter's system would be amazing for him, but he's never really been a high point guy until last year. So to me, that was like, is he a high point guy, or was that just that year,
An
easier
outlier.
competition? Yeah, exactly. But it looks like it's going to come to fruition that he is legitimately the player he looked like he was last year. What are your thoughts on him so far?
Yeah, he's, the game they played against Edmonton, he looked like the fastest player on the ice and the most skilled. Like, he's putting it all on the line. You can tell he's hungry to win again. And you know, it's funny you mentioned that, because the guy I'm most curious to see and unsure about in that system with the Flames is Huberdeau. I was kind of sure about Kadri off the bat, but I wasn't sure how Huberdeau would do with the Flames.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was kind of the opposite there.
Him and Uyghur have been kind of so
Yeah.
far. Like Uyghur, I think, is going to get better, and that's fine. But Hubert only has, I think, one goal so far. If you think about how many points he had, he was supposed to be a direct replacement for Johnny Gaudreau, and you haven't really seen the same offensive outpouring yet. Like, he's struggled more to kind of match up than Kadri has. Kadri's almost stepped in and kept rolling here. I was looking at the notes for the show today, and I think the notes that I put in got erased for other notes, because I'm looking at some of these and I'm like, I don't remember writing this, but whatever. I was just noticed that now. I'm like, God, did I write this, or did somebody else? Whatever. But I think it's interesting right now too. Vegas seems to be on fire, and I think that's the team that a lot of people were like, their window has closed and they haven't realized it yet. Like, things are looking tough, and all of a sudden now they're kind of sitting pretty within the Pacific Division. And I'm trying to think of who they've played so far and look back on that, because I think they have, I think it's like a 4-2 record, but I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. But they have been, I think they've been better than a lot of people actually kind of thought. Like, another team like you could say that for is also Boston, but right now I think, they're 6-2, so they have 12 points right now. They're first in the Pacific, according to this. I would have thought Calgary, but no, it's apparently them.
Yeah, no, 6-2,
And they have, that has to be a bit of a surprise. Like, for me, it is. I don't know. What do you feel about that?
Yeah,
Is this who they are?
I thought they were going to take a step back, to be honest with you. It doesn't look like goaltending was a big question mark, and that rookie goaltender seemed to have found a good spot there.
Yeah, like, I thought their goaltending, I thought, was going to be their weak spot too, so much that I thought it would be like literally the deficit. You can have a great team in front of you in that, but also, I mean, they gave up a lot of players here too. There's trying to think who else they've had here so far. I can't find a list of who they played, but I feel like they lost players. Like, losing Pacioretty to me is a huge change. Like, it's almost like culture like, and I know he missed a ton, but still, it seems to be one of those things where this team has really got itself back together. 4-2, they beat the Leafs 3-1. The Avs, beat them 3-1. They beat Winnipeg. They lost to Calgary. Yeah, they've had some tough matchups and some soft matchups here. Kings, Coyotes, Kings, Blackhawks, Seattle, and then Calgary, Winnipeg. Yeah, they've had a so-so schedule. However, I would say, what is it like? The Blackhawks are on kind of a tear right now too, which is a little bit of a surprise. That's a team you don't really expect much from.
Bizarre. It's almost like they want to make a statement. Where all these, we hear a lot about them tanking for Bedard, one of the teams that's in the running for Bedard with,
a card for Bedard, I believe,
Arizona.
The thing this year.
Exactly. And turns out they're firing on all cylinders, and they're third in their division.
So one of the other things that's popped up here when we're talking about how well this is going for Vegas, or even a team like the Blackhawks, is it's important to establish a good amount of wins early in the season. As we saw last year with the Oilers, when things went south in December, those early wins where they won games that they probably shouldn't have really kind of helped soften the blow of a bad stretch. And right now, looking at it, Vegas is in a good spot for that. It helps Chicago with that. But the exact opposite is true for the Vancouver Canucks. Having not won a single game, I think they have a couple overtime losses, but not having won a single game.
5-2.
5-2. This team is in a really precarious spot, because they would have to go on a substantial tear in order to make the playoffs. I think on Elliot Friedman's 31 Thoughts today, he actually posted something about how many games it would take or which teams have done it, but it's not going to be an easy road for Vancouver. It's almost like at this point they're already eliminated, and that's kind of like a scary thought this early in the season. Usually you wait till around the time of the American Thanksgiving to know, but right now it seems like it's locked in here. What's gone wrong with this team? Like, where do you think things have gone bad, and what can be changed to help, if anything?
It's tough, but when you become a team whose identity is, garner a couple goals as a cushion and then lose it later in the game, your confidence is blown, and you're probably always playing with that kind of tightened grip on the stick and worried that you are going to blow that lead. And I just don't think they're meshing as a team, like in terms of closing out games. I would say confidence shot. There's got to be something with the dressing room. Like, I don't know, maybe the Boudreau's system isn't working there. They were scoring goals, but defensively just letting up too much.
So the last team, this is the point. This is Elliot Friedman on his 32 thoughts for today. Vancouver has has 2 points in 7 games. I can find one team that made the playoffs since 05-06 in a full 82 game season, despite such a poor start. It was the 2013-14 Flyers, which were 1-6. The Flyers went 41, 24, and 10 to get there. So it's not impossible, but it kind of feels like it is. Like they have to go on a hell of a heater. Yeah. You've made comments about things like Bruce Boudreau in the locker room. There looked like there was an incident between JT Miller and Luke Shen at the end of a game. Yeah. So the end of the game, they kind of got into a scrap and no one's really sure what up. I mean, they got into an argument, I guess. Bruce Boudreau has been talked about on the chopping block because how things are going and not necessarily going well. But last year, when he came in and relieved Travis Green, there was all that talk about how he had turned things around and how much better stuff was. And it really felt like he had kind of got this team on the right track. And do you feel like that was authentic, or was that like a fake thing that, I guess, a false belief that put them into a bad spot? Like, oh, this team's looking good, so we'll just re-sign Miller. We'll move on from here and keep going. And now they're in it and it's not going well. Yeah. Or do you think that there's a chance that things could recover?
Well, it's looking right now like it was a false belief, like coaching change, team does well. Like that's usually the turning point, with a team that's struggling. They did well with Boudreau. I thought that was a smart signing. Keep him for another year, right? And then it's like they started and Travis Green is their coach again. And maybe his motto is falling on deaf ears, or, maybe players aren't adjusting how they, Boudreau even said, like, if you don't want to compete here, get out of the locker room.
Right.
So it's interesting, but like, I think it was just like a Band-Aid, and that Band-Aid got wet pretty quick. And what happens to wet Band-Aids? They fall off.
I think one of the issues is the fact that the defense is just another year older and not better. Like they've locked into some guys here, whether it's Pullman, Myers, OEL, they're stuck with those players, and they've had to make moves to open up cap space and do other things here. And it feels like it's all been very marginal. I can't remember which player they traded to open up some cap space, but they had to give away draft picks for it. And people were like, why are you giving up so much for so little? And I feel like the longest time Vancouver's been on the cusp of a rebuild, and everyone's like, okay, things are going to get better, but then nothing's really changed. Like they never commit fully to the rebuild. They're essentially like wanting to do what the Flyers did that one year and retool in a year, or retool in a year or two. And they're almost caught in like a purgatory where they can't get better because they don't have any space. They're lagged down by all these old crappy contracts and heavy contracts, and they're not necessarily getting the high draft pick to kind of compensate for it either. Like you're not in that top 3 to get that superstar, or if you are, you end up bottoming out and going further down because you've lost the lottery. It feels cyclical, and for Canucks fans, it must be very frustrating because I think you saw last year, it gave you at least false hope. At the worst, false hope. At the best, like hope that hasn't come true yet, come to fruition.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to think about this team. I thought they would be better just based off of Bruce Boudreau and how well his record is. But now I don't have confidence in them any more than they probably have in themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's tough. Like, I mean, your season's done. You're like a month into hockey. And is there any point for you to really keep watching?
Yeah. No, it's bizarre watching it, because it is a team that we thought would be at least on the bubble, right?
Mm-hmm.
For a playoff spot. And I'm sure that's how Vancouver fans felt too. Like, we just had that signing of that other player. His name escapes me. Geez. I always want to say Kovalev, but it's not.
The Russian guy?
Yeah, the Russian
toured
guy.
all the cities. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was supposed to be big, right? He scored in the first game. And then, JT Miller is coming off of a huge year where he had, did he have 100 points or damn near?
I don't think he got 100, but he had very good numbers. Like, he would have been a big piece if they decided to trade him, because this was his last year on his old contract. Yeah. And now they've locked into him. And they said, yeah, we're committing to you. But they're screwed in the sense that, like, now that they've committed to him, they're going to have to give other things up. They're going to lose other players. And that's problematic, right? Maybe he isn't the guy that they should have signed,
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a weird problem, man. And like, yeah.
If you're I would say if you're a Canucks fan, reach out. Let us know your thoughts on this. Whenever I ask Canucks fans about it, they either get very defensive, because they're like, screw you, Oiler fan. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but my team sucked for a decade.
They've been there.
So yeah, my team's been worse than your team. We're just better at being worse. Or they tell me they haven't been watching because the team's not doing well, so why watch? And those two things are both kind of tough that way. Yes. So I don't know. Again, at this stage, I've watched a little bit of a game and didn't really pay off for me. I'll leave it like that. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on to something that's actually fun to talk about as opposed to depressing, which is Phil Kessel crushing his Ironman streak here. So he is now the Ironman leader, having beaten out longtime reigning champ Keith Yandel. I feel bad for Keith Yandel because he was essentially put into, like, as soon as he got it, they were kind of like, yeah, we're done with you. And then gave him 1 game off or 2 games off and then let him play again, and killed his streak, when at least he could have got to the end of the season and had it for at least a little while, Yeah. Like, it would have given him some more time with it. I don't know, but, and so it was his 990th game. He scores his 400th goal. And Bill Kessel is always remembered for lots of things, including like quips and stories. I'm going to play my favorite sound clip, which is the one you'll hear the most. So this is for you, everybody.
Good one, Randy. Good one.
Hopefully that came through, but did you hear it?
Yeah.
Good one, Randy. Good one. He's got like such a weird voice. Yeah, I don't know. Try it again here.
Okay.
Good one, Randy. Good one.
Burn. So there's all those like kind of stories about him. There was one about him at BioSteel camp where he was sitting reading, and they were like, aren't you even going to bother to work out? So then he walked in and just crushed everyone
on legs,
and went back to reading. Yeah. There's like the story, the other ones come out is how he wouldn't drink water, only blue Gatorade. I like the hot dog story was so fake that he like literally celebrates with hot dogs as an FU to Steve Simmons, which I think is amazing. It's curious to me because he's had such an interesting career. So there's a book, and it was a book that's written out a while ago. I can't remember, but it's actually about the draft class around, I think it's 2007, which I think is his draft year. And it's called Future Greats and Heartbreaks. And it's by, I think it's Gar Joyce, Gare. I don't know people's names, but anyways, it's essentially just chronicles the world of scouting. And a big part of that has to do with the Phil Kessel draft year and how he goes. And this guy sits in with the Columbus Blue Jackets, but he talks about how people don't like Phil Kessel. And I mean, like, they don't think of that he's going to be any good. Like, he's out of shape. He's big.
Right.
His personality isn't exactly great. There was rumors that he didn't get along with the other people at Chaddock St. Mary's, that he was fighting with people, including like Crosby and Jack Johnson. So there's all these stories around him, and all these teams pass on him till essentially Boston gets him. And like, really, they got a hell of a player, and they end up trading him away. But, from then on, like, he really kind of grows and becomes a huge part in the league. So it's interesting how it works. I mean, this is a guy who didn't get to play for Team USA the one year. And then they
Stanley
score
Cups.
goals. Yeah. And he's got 2 Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
He's got a house with a giant glitter poster in it and 1 couch. That's not his fault. Apparently it was like the staging person did it. And it's just like how much that would suck that that's your house listed on there. There's always stories about him gambling. He's just such a character. It's like, what is your favorite like Phil Kessel memory? And like, what do you think this means to the league to have a guy like him hit the all-time consecutive games?
It's incredible because like you think of an athlete, a professional athlete, as being a specimen in terms of like body, like built, right? Especially hockey players. And then you see like clips of him like with his equipment off, and he virtually looks like a mix of like Homer Simpson and Barney from The Simpsons. Like it's quite incredible. And like listening to and then watching him, he's fast. Yeah. He's fast and incredibly skilled, and his shot is
the shot's tremendous.
Unreal. Yeah. Unreal. So it's just cool to see that. And, he's unflappable. That's another thing I'll always remember is like, it's just like his, I don't give a crap face is like, he's not really fazed by much.
Right. I remember him like slowly, like just annoying the shit out of Evgeny Malkin when they were line mates, and he'd be on the bench. Like, do you remember the clip? It's like him on the bench. He's just like going, and Malkin's just like,
oh yeah.
He's just like so sick of him, but they played so well together.
Yeah.
But I think he drove Malkin nuts. Like, I think he literally drove Malkin nuts. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just, it's funny to me because it's like, you're seeing this guy's the Iron Man, and he doesn't look like he's fit, but he's ridiculously fit. He's just got such a weird personality, and hockey's always had its like share of like kooks and like kind of oddballs.
Brizgalov.
Right. That's what I was going to say, but there's not many left. Like Brizgalov was one. There's a couple other people, but not many left really. So, do you want to move into the reverse retro, given the notification we've just received? Hey, let's do it. Get the hell off of here. We're too cheap. We're too cheap to pay for full Zoom now that we don't get it. So we're just like, let this baby ride.
That's right. Maybe Zoom will want to sponsor us, huh?
Yeah, maybe. Throw us a little freebie here once in a while. Zoom, tag us. Zoom. Now, I zoned out. What was the jersey that we picked today for the reverse retro?
We picked the New York Islanders reverse retro.
That's right. All right. So the New York Islanders reverse retro is based off the old Fisherman reverse retro.
Fish sticks.
And I believe that, the fish sticks, I guess, that's exactly it. Of the late, the late 90s, early 2000s. And this was probably one of the most hated and maligned jerseys. When the Retro Reverse Series 1 came out, the Islanders probably had one of the bottom 5 jerseys in the league, where they essentially just had their regular jersey with darker colors. So nobody really liked it. The Fish Sticks logo coming back, though, was kind of like an automatic thing where people saw this and they thought this will be an amazing piece of nostalgia, much like Calgary had done with the Blasty jersey. Bring this thing, showcase it. You will sell a ton of jerseys. And so they brought it back, but they made a couple tweaks. Adam, do you know what those tweaks are? Do you remember?
I believe the color scheme is different. It's not that kind of light blue, bluey green. It's got the darker blue with the logo on top. And then what was the other? Was it something to do with waves at the bottom?
Yeah, so that's part of the color scheme. There used to be a light blue wave on the bottom, or like rolling kind of thing, and it's gone. It's not there anymore. And so it kind of changed the look, where it is still a kind of like a darker jersey, but it's not exactly the same. I also believe some of the faceplate colors a little bit different on the emblem than the previous one. But they did right in the sense that they actually picked the jersey that they should be doing.
Yes.
But they might have done wrong by changing it a little too much and not keeping some of the pieces that worked with it. So, Adam, what do you like about this jersey? And would you say this is a good one, or do you think that there were some mistakes and they should change it up? Where are you at with it?
I at the end of the day, I like this jersey. There's one thing I do not like about it, though. I love the logo. I'm glad they went back to the fish sticks. I love the color. I'm glad they darkened it up. And, the dark blue and the orange is fantastic. The part I hate is at the bottom where this line is. They've got it coming diagonally up. It looks like it's sewn on by someone who has no sewing skills. It looks messy to me.
Yeah. So underneath that used to be where the wave was, right?
Yeah.
And on the new one, it's just the original color of the jersey. I agree. Like that part looks out of place with it.
Yeah.
Which is too bad, because I think it to me, it kind of sewers some of the jersey. Like this to me should have been an auto buy. Like if I was going to buy one, like this should be like in my top 5, and it really isn't. Like it's a middle of the pack jersey. I'm glad the Fisherman logo's back, but other than that, I was kind of a little bit saddened by the color scheme of it. Like I really thought they once again missed the opportunity to do something unique with this, or to make this like stand out and look really great. And even if you look back once again to the Blasty, where not a lot of changes were made, just going back to that jersey alone brought a lot of people into it and got them engaged in it. So it's kind of weird that way, but way it goes.
I agree. It's a middle of the pack jersey in terms of every other reverse retro that's come out, and it's disappointing. And it's the bottom of the jersey for me that like killed it. I was like,
yeah, like, and I think it should be so simple to be like, this is what we need to do. Even like flip colors around, whatever, but this is what we need to do. And they just, but that's okay. That's typical for an organization that makes you cut your hair and shave your mustache. We're getting the last little bit here, but is there anything else you want to talk about this episode?
No, I'm quite happy with how our nice little throwback OG episode is gone.
Yeah, to recap, Oilers win, Hyman good, Bunting not as good, which Ryan should admit, but he won't. Canucks
worse.
Bad. Kessel cool, Jersey so-so. Really in-depthful stuff. Yeah. So you need Sanjay here to make fun of him every once in a while, or Pilon here to like get matter-of-factly about something. It's weird. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Like, click, subscribe. Whenever I hear his name, I say it out loud. Somebody's like, "Oh, Ryan." I'm like, click, subscribe. Yes, I do. It's indebted into me now.
That's right.
Part of it. No, we did well, I think. Yeah. Hitting the final bit here. So thanks for listening. It's been a good episode. Like I said, like, click, subscribe. Feel free to reach out on Twitter. Please, a Canucks fan here and there. I know some of you hate us for being Oilers fans, but you can still comment and we can still engage with you because we've been there. We've been in that spot. You don't have to like us, but we've been there. We know what it's like. I remember October being like, I'm done. There's Ben Scrivens is in net and we are getting crushed every game. Why am I watching this? Been there.
Yeah, I agree. Tough times.
All right. With that, I'm Baron.
I'm Adam.
This is the best episode of Delayed Offside. Have a good night. Thanks for listening.